Remember the candies that cured your sweet tooth back in the day? From being cherished to being taken off the shelves, find out which candy bars have vanished over time. We kick off our list with a classic Butterfinger BBs. These bonbons were a beloved candy that hit the market in the early 1990s. Yeah, these bite-sized balls of crispy peanut butter covered in chocolate were a huge hit, especially with kids. They were easy to snack on and share and perfect for adding to lunchboxes or enjoying at the movies. Butterfinger BBs became a household name in 1992. The candy was almost as iconic as those torn blue jeans and flannel shirts that polished off every cool kid's wardrobe. But all good things come to an end, and despite their popularity, Butterfinger BBs were discontinued in 2006. So why were these poppable Butterfingers dropped from the Nestle line of confections? Well, it was the chocolate's quick melting point that determined the candy's fate. The chocolate seemed to slip off the candy and onto your fingers more quickly than it could reach your mouth, which made these Butterfinger BBs live up to their name. With these candies gone from the market, they'll always have a special place in the memories of Butterfinger fans. Now, who doesn't love chunks of peanut butter and oats, all covered in rich milk chocolate? PB Max was a dream come true for kids everywhere. It was like the ultimate snack, right? I mean, peanut butter and chocolate are a classic duo, and PB Max threw some oats in there for that healthy vibe. But let's be honest, who were we kidding? This was pure chocolatey bliss in disguise. It was like a candy bar, and a granola bar had a love child. These were launched by Mars in the early 1990s and were the Reese's peanut butter cups of their time. The name stirred up quite a controversy when people started thinking it stood out for piggy banks or polka band. The company was simply going for peanut butter, but you know how even the simplest things are misunderstood. While the whole world couldn't stop raving about this candy bar, the Mars family had a distaste for peanut butter and decided to discontinue PB Max, leaving a peanut butter-shaped hole in our hearts. Remember Summit cookie bars? These crispy wafers and peanuts covered in a layer of chocolate made a delightful snack for kids, or adults, we don't judge here, back in the day. This was another sweetie manufactured in the early 1980s by Mars in the United States. Although it was initially labeled as a cookie product, it was eventually advertised as a candy, which made sense as it was a hybrid between the two. Summit cookie bars became everyone's favorite go-to candy in no time, but there was one issue: it used to melt. Yep, this bar just melted right there in the packaging, which made it a messy treat for children and a villain for parents. Plus, there was no marketing pizzazz. These were just simple cookie bars that made buzz only because of its irresistible taste. In 1983, Mars tried to fix the issue and changed to individual foil wrapping and promoted the bar as having 30% more chocolate. But it didn't help, and in the end, there was no choice but to take these off the shelves. For those seeking a protein-packed treat, the Powerhouse candy bar was the ultimate choice. This candy bar was a triumphant trio of peanuts, fudge, and caramel that left taste buds begging for more. It first appeared in the 1970s and was marketed as a nutritious option compared to other candy bars. Since the Powerhouse candy bar was packed with protein, it was a popular pick for athletes and health-conscious candy lovers alike. It was the perfect snack to sneak past your parents when they were on their health kick. But don't get me wrong, I loved it. Just don't pretend it was a salad. Once the Peter Paul Company was bought by Herseys in the 1980s, production of the Powerhouse bar ended, and athletes have been longing for a healthy chocolate bar since then. All right, let's talk about the Reggie Bar. This candy was basically the equivalent of a baseball home run in the snack world. I mean, who thought a caramel, peanut, and chocolate combo named after a baseball legend was a good idea? Well, whoever it was, they were a genius. This bar was like a big chocolatey trophy for your taste buds. Fans of both baseball and candy enjoyed the Reggie Bar for its rich flavor and association with the sports icon. Every kid wanted to be the next Reggie Jackson while munching on this thing. Did it actually make you hit a home run? Probably not. But did it taste like a champ? Absolutely. Now, candy bars come and go, unfortunately. For every tasty snack treat found in a local sweets aisle or hanging out on a rack by the checkout counter, There are just as many discontinued candy bars that are nothing but a long-distant memory, and the Reggie Bar is just another example of one of the good ones we lost on the way. The Nestle Wonder Ball was a sweet treat that was completely out of this world. Yeah, these were colorful, spherical candy filled with a delicious fruity center, but that wasn't even the best part. This hollow chocolate ball was filled with small toys or candies, making it an exciting and fun surprise. Part of the thrill was not knowing what you'd find inside the Wonder Ball. These were introduced in the 1990s and early 2000s, but it was soon discovered that the little toys inside the candy were choking hazards, and after millions of complaints from around the world, Nestle decided to discontinue this candy for good. Now, they did try to re-release it with other candy inside the ball instead of toys. The product was marketed with various themes, including Disney, Pokemon, Cartoon Network, Care Bears, and Winnie the Pooh. But you know, kids, they weren't ready to settle for less, and the good old Nestle Wonder Ball simply fell out of fashion. So Space Dust was a fizzy candy similar to Pop Rocks that hit the market in the late 1970s. It was a powdered version of the popping candy that created a fun, tingling sensation in your mouth. Space Dust was popular among kids for its unique texture and playful experience. I'm sure you can recall that tingling sensation any time of the day. I know I can. It was discontinued in 1983 due to concerns about its similarity to illegal drugs in appearance. Yeah, that took a dark turn. I guess we'll just have to stick to Pop Rocks because Space Dust isn't making a comeback anytime soon. Remember those days when everyone was obsessed with Nestle Alpine White back in the 1990s? This bar was like the cool kid of the chocolate world. Smooth, creamy white chocolate with a crunchy almond twist? Come on, it was pure luxury. For a lot of us, this was our fancy chocolate upgrade from the standard milk chocolate. It was like, I'm all grown up now, I eat white chocolate. I mean, it wasn't exactly wild and crazy, but it was that perfect balance of sweet and sophisticated. Before you could get your hands on Hershey's Cookies and Cream, Alpine White was the white chocolate game changer. It was your first taste of fancy chocolate. Sadly, this sophisticated snack didn't last long on the shelves. Turns out they had a low shelf life, so if you ever see one by any chance, don't eat it, unless you're up for a nasty case of food poisoning. While many people associate the Peter Paul Company with Almond Joy and Mounds, they had another gem in their lineup, the Caravelle Bar. It was introduced in the early 70s to compete with the similar Nestle's $100,000 bar. But whereas the $100,000 bar tastes processed and is kind of rubbery, Caravelle was lighter and sweeter tasting. Think caramel mixed with Rice Krispies, covered in milk chocolate. Its iconic TV commercial with a catchy jingle was a staple of 70s television. Unfortunately, the Caravelle Bar was discontinued after Peter Paul merged with Cadbury Schweppes in 1978. I don't know about you, but I think this one really calls for a comeback. Okay, let's talk about a candy bar that was straight up mind-blowing. The 7-Up bar was a unique chocolate bar that offered 7 different flavored sections in one candy bar. While it might seem like this candy bar has something to do with the drink, it was actually not related and was named this way due to its design. It was introduced in the 1930s and became a favorite for its variety and surprise element. Each section was filled with different flavors like caramel, coconut, and fruit-flavored creams. This candy bar was way ahead of its time. It was basically the original candy surprise pack. I mean, who wouldn't want to gamble on what flavor they'd get next? The 7-Up candy bar had to be retired due to conflict with 7-Up soda and trademarking concerns between the two companies that could not be resolved. There were also issues with high manufacturing costs because turns out it's not cheap to shove 7 different fillings in one candy bar. Remember when fruit string things were the talk of the town back in the day? Fruit string things were a fun and fruity snack from the 1990s that kids loved. These colorful, chewy strings of fruit-flavored candy were perfect for playing with and eating. They came in various fruity flavors, making them a popular choice for a sweet treat. At some point, you've probably heard someone tell you that everything was better in the 90s, and it was probably because of fruit string things. Fruit string thing took your average fruit snack and stretched it out into long, fruit-flavored strings, similar to a shoelace. If any snack encouraged kids to play with their food, this certainly fits the bill. Most marketing for the fruit string thing focused on all the different ways you could play, twist, and bend the fruit snacks into different shapes. But what exactly happened to fruit string thing? It just simply couldn't compete with other fruit snacks like fruit by the foot or fruit roll-ups. A classic candy with a twist, Lifesavers Holes was the perfect treat for those who loved the iconic Lifesaver shape but wanted a different texture. Introduced in the 1990s, these small, round candies were marketed as the holes that were left when Lifesavers were made. They came in a variety of flavors, just like the original Lifesavers, and were a hit with kids and adults alike. Lifesavers have been a staple of the American candy market since 1912, when chocolate maker Clarence Crane invented the original peppermint variety after a trip to the pharmacy. But not all the experiments with this classic have been instant hits because Lifesaver Holes weren't long for the world. The holes were sold in small plastic tubes with a flip top, which ultimately proved to be their downfall. Yep, choking hazard, you guessed it. Who doesn't love a candy bar that's low on calories but just as delicious? Milky Way Lite was a lower-calorie version of the classic Milky Way candy bar, introduced in the 1990s. It offered the same delicious combination of nougat, caramel, and chocolate, but with fewer calories. Yeah, this chocolatey goodness had 170 calories instead of the 220 found in the average chocolate bar, and 5 grams of fat, half the usual amount. It appeared successful upon its launch in 1996, as consumers commented it was exactly like a regular Milky Way, and became one of the 20 best-selling candy bars in the US within a year. But with time, the low-fat market declined, and Milky Way Lite wasn't immune from this trend. For those watching their waistline but still craving a chocolatey treat, Milky Way Lite was a delicious option, and you're missing out. The Forever Yours bar was a romantic treat that promised everlasting love, or at least a delicious chocolate experience. It was a candy bar that featured a rich combination of dark chocolate, nougat, and caramel. It was introduced in the 1930s and became a favorite for its decadent taste. In the 1970s, the Forever Yours bar was rebranded as Milky Way Dark before it was changed to Milky Way Midnight. This sweet treat was an instant hit, especially during the month of February when Valentine's Day came around. They did make the perfect gift on the Love Day due to their cheap price and adorable packaging. Despite its rebranding, the Forever Yours bar was discontinued and taken off the supermarket shelves. I guess you can say love's not in the air anymore, or at least it's not in our candies. Herseys Tastetations was a unique take on hard candy. These small, spherical candies offered a burst of fruity flavor with a satisfying crunch. Perfect for sharing or enjoying one by one, Tastetations was a delightful treat. The Hershey's Tastetations were a line of chocolate hard candies introduced in the late 1990s and early 2000s, and these individually wrapped candies came in a variety of flavors, including chocolate, caramel, and mint. To the best of our knowledge, Tastetations was discontinued sometime in the early 2000s. They were only on the market for a few very short years, according to fans who adored them. When you love chocolate and you love hard candy, it can be challenging to find a candy that satisfies both of those urges. Hershey's Tastetations was a fabulous solution. While they didn't stick around all that long on the market compared to other Hershey's candies, they were something memorable, and many people wished they would make a return. Imagine the taste of a creamy milkshake captured in a candy bar. That was the promise of the Milkshake Bar. With layers of malted milk, nougat, caramel, and chocolate, this candy bar was a decadent indulgence. From the 1930s to the early 1950s, this candy bar was all everyone ever talked about. Come on, a milkshake and chocolate bar hybrid, what's not to love? However, after standing strong for 50 years in the candy business and making popular candies like the Milkshake Bar, the Martaccio family sold the business, which meant goodbye to this sweet treat. The Milkshake Candy Bar is one of those candy bars that were incredibly popular, but sort of just faded away and no one really noticed until it was gone. For those who loved the iconic Altoids tin but craved a sour kick, Altoids Sours was the perfect treat. Their intense sour taste and unique packaging made it an instant hit in the market. Introduced in the early 2000s, these sour candies came in a variety of fruity flavors, including raspberry, tangerine, and lime. And if you thought you were never going to get the chance to try these, here's some good news. Altoids Sours are returning to shelves with a new name, Retro Sours. And yes, they will be packed in those handy metal tins. Besides the name change, there is one other major difference. Retro Sours will be released by iconic Candy and not Mars Wrigley. There's something undeniably exciting about seeing a product you loved as a child return to shelves, especially when it comes to candy. All right, let's talk about the Marathon Bar, the candy bar that was actually worth the name. This thing was like a chocolate river flowing through a caramel canyon. It was so big you could probably share it with your whole family, or just hoard it for yourself. I mean, who's counting? This bad boy was a chocolate champion. These had a 15-inch ruler on the back of the red wrapper, and the size was the real star of the show, but that doesn't mean its taste came to play. It was like a chewy caramel adventure wrapped in a chocolate hug. Perfect for those late-night sugar cravings when you're ready to conquer the world, or at least your pantry. Big Time was a candy bar that aimed to make a big impression in the 1950s. With its combination of chocolate, caramel, and peanuts, it certainly delivered on flavor. However, the original Bog feature was its size and unlimited taste. In 1988, Holywood Brands was acquired by the Leaf Candy Company and then became part of the Hershey Company in 1996. Hershey's saw no appeal in keeping the Big Time bars on the shelf, so they vanished from our sweet stash. To wrap up our list, we have the Holywood Bar. It was a candy bar that combined chocolate, nougat, and caramel into a delicious sweet treat. It was introduced in the mid-20th century and created a buzz as the first luxurious chocolate bar of its time. It was the candy all the big-time celebrities of Hollywood were seen with, and the name made it fitting. Despite its popularity, the Holywood Bar vanished right in front of the paparazzi. So did any of these lost candies stir up tasty memories? If so, like this video, click subscribe and stay tuned for more nostalgia trips.